And in saying such, ask a tranny. Ask a tranny. Send in your questions and ask a tranny. Ask a tranny. Ask a tranny. You ask it, we'll answer your questions, motherfucker. Okay, anyway. So, hey, everybody. Welcome to the Approximate Podcast. My name's Jamie French, and you are listening to yet another episode of Ask a Tranny. This is a weird one. This is unscheduled, and it's not happening on Friday like it oughta. In fact, you guys probably haven't heard one of these in, I'd say about almost a month or so. There's a very good reason for that. I've been recovering from surgery, and the only reason we're doing this here and now, outside of our normal schedule, is because I got a lot of backup questions, and I thought, more to the point, I thought I was going to have a special guest show up. Tiffany Staw, you know who you are. You didn't make it, and I set all this stuff up for your arrival, and you didn't do it. So now you force me and my co-host, Stephanie Special. Say hi, Stephanie.
Hey.
Yeah, you forced her to fill in the gaps, and she doesn't want to be on the show right now. Jesus Christ. Tiffany, oh my God. Anyway, fuck you, we'll get you at another time. So while we're here and while we have everything set up, I think this is an appropriate time to kind of clear out the gutters. We're going to address a bunch of emails, and we're going to go over some text that we built up for over a month now, so that we can get a nice fresh start in a couple of weeks when we start doing the shows again in earnest. Again, I'm recovering from surgery, so that's what the whole big delay is, and that's why our updates have been really spotty. So let's just get right down to it. I'm going to pull up the old email list here. And how you feeling? You feeling good?
I'm good.
Nah, you're not feeling good. You look miserable.
Well, if I have to be here.
So,
sorry I'm late. I didn't want to come.
Hey, for anybody that's making it out right now in such an odd, weird time outside of our normal schedule, our normal program, I can't speak because I've been drinking.
Scheduled programming.
And I insist that you drink as well. Everybody, if you got a beer, hold it up. If you don't got a beer, go get a beer. Hold it up. We're gonna
coffee.
That close enough. There's drugs in there. There's some sort of narcotic in there. You got the caffeine. I got the alcohol, and we're gonna start this show right. We're gonna start with our first question. Here we go. Okay. So our first question is from Evelyn. Evelyn sent an email to us on July 28th. That's how far back. But we're going to answer these questions. It's a three-parter. The first question is, I got a phone call last Friday. I didn't know I had so much endurance. My question is, have you ever taken a late booking for a film or photo session? If so, did it go as well as it did for me? Okay, so for our listeners that are just tuning in, this is a question that goes back. It relates to a question that we had on a previous show, but let me simplify it for you guys. What Evelyn wants to know is, have you ever taken a late night call and had to do work, and did it go well because it was so late at night? Now, this refers to anybody that's in the adult entertainment industry, most likely hookers or escorts, however you want to say, prostitute ladies of the night, painted ladies. For those kind of folks, of which I am one, don't worry, I'm not shaming anybody. I'm the worst of them all. Or if you, have you been called to do a scene as a performer? Have you ever gotten a late night call and it worked out in your favor? Basically, is there a discrepancy between working late, taking like an 11th hour call, and having where you have everything pre-planned and you do your work during the day where it's appropriate to do work, and you have enough what's the word I'm looking for, where you have enough everything's pre-planned, okay, where you have your schedule in order. Yeah, something that's scheduled and something that's not scheduled. Again, beer's a son of a bitch. Sorry for the rambling. But okay, well, here's the deal, Evelyn, to answer your first question. It kind of depends on your mood. And please jump in at any time if you have something to say about this. In our business, in the adult entertainment industry, we're freelancers, and we're kind of on call by default. We kind of will get calls at all hours of the night, usually not from video producers, mostly from, quote unquote Johns, for escorting. And you really have to make a judgment call. I can't speak to the getting called late at night for shooting a scene, because I work with people that are professional enough to where they wouldn't do that. You'd get hit up 2 weeks in advance for a shoot, and there's usually a plane ticket involved, and you fly out, and everything's all figured out with at least 2 weeks advance notice.
I have been booked on very short notice within not all the time, of course, because we deal with professionals a lot of the time, but I have been booked on very short notice within a few days sometimes. And sometimes there's extra shoots, oh, you're here, or oh, you're in town, you think you can pick up this shoot or whatever, and I would do that shoot. But I can also speak for the late night client thing too. So
yeah, well, we can speak about the late night client thing, but I'm very interested. This has never happened for me.
Really?
What towns are you in where you're getting late night calls?
Well,
LA?
No, not late night calls. Not late night calls. I mean, when a producer needs a movie finished, they need a DVD finished or whatever, they'd be like, oh, well, okay, well, this one's in town right here, so let me, see if she'll do the shoot, even though I haven't contacted her, in advance to do it. Or somebody falls through or something, and you come through to be the backup or whatever.
Okay, and I've
had that happen before.
Now, yeah, I get a couple of days, kind of 11th hour vibe. You get to town, you're not expecting to shoot, and somebody calls you, and they only give you 1 or 2 days to say yes or no.
Basically, oh, you're in town, you want to shoot.
But Evelyn's saying that she got a call for doing a production that seems to have happened immediately. Hey, Evelyn, this is such and such producer. Can you be here in an hour or so? That's very odd.
I've heard cis girls in porn talk about that a lot.
Really?
Yeah, it usually happens. I'm saying it usually, but sometimes it does happen, because some porn girls are flaky. I say some, very generously. A lot of them are professional, and the professional ones fill in for the flaky ones, of course. And yeah, when a producer needs a movie done, they need to get that bottom line of the scenes finished. So if you only have 3 scenes, you need 1 more scene, and the 4th person flakes, and you're going to say, oh, let me call this reliable person right here.
Right.
Can you be on set in an hour? Or can you be on set in 2 hours?
Oh, that makes sense. That stands to reason. But I want to address the last part of this question here is, and this is very specific, and this is the thing I think I want to address the most, is my question is, have you ever taken a later booking for a film or photo session? If so, did it go as well as it did for me? So there's a presumption here. Apparently Evelyn took this call, did the scene, and it turned out well. As a general rule of thumb, I would say that you lucked out on that one. Because if you're going to do a professional scene, you're going to want to have some advance notice. You're going to want to have some time to prepare, to talk about what the production's going to be like, to find out what the kind of look is that the producer wants. I'm thinking that really you may have just lucked out, because I don't think I'd ever take an 11-hour kind of shoot, just get a phone call and say, hey, can you be up at the studio in an hour or two, and we're gonna shoot this scene. I'm like, dude, whoa, dude, I need more information than just can I show up.
It's definitely not ideal, and it's not preferred, but it's not like we work in Hollywood. It's not like we have big scripts to memorize or whatever. If you just get the,
not, but what you risk is damaging your image and your brand.
Definitely.
More often than not. If you're not prepared for if you get that 11th hour call, odds are it's not going to work in your favor, and then you have a smudge on your portfolio. You have a smudge on your resume, and usually in an 11th hour call like that, I imagine the pay would have to be a lot.
Well, then again, I don't think that they
probably not, because anybody that's unprofessional enough to call you at the 11th hour probably isn't spending professional amounts of money. And so what's going to happen is you're going to say yes to that gig. You're going to take it. You're going to scramble, show up. You're going to take an Uber, show up to the shooting location. You're going to show up to set, probably about 30 minutes late or an hour late, because you got called so late in the day, and you're going to get a shit amount of money for what's probably going to be a shitty scene because you were so unprepared. I would not suggest that anybody that is in the adult entertainment industry, filming wise, I would not suggest that they do that. I would suggest that you tell a motherfucker to fuck off.
Well, I'm ambiguous about this answer, because I have girls who I know.
Well, because you're desperate for money.
Well, no. Well, I've had girls who mostly speaking from out of other people's experience, not so much from myself, because in the trans industry, it's still so small of a group. We don't really have people that's like, oh, well, this person flaked, let me call this person, as much as you do in like a cisgender market. And like some of the friends I've had, like, they've had to fill in for girls who missed their gangbang. Like, they'd be like, oh, do you need to, can this girl...
Yeah, okay, no, see, I know exactly what you're talking about there. Yeah. One of the most professional scenes, not one of the best scenes, but one of the most professional scenes I've ever done was for Evil Angel. And I think it was because of you. The production had like 2 or 3 girls drop out one after another, and they needed somebody to fill in the role. And I got called because of your recommendation for, I can't remember the name of the film, doesn't matter.
I think it was Shimo Perverts.
Sure, let's just say it's that. Doesn't matter. The thing is, it was a professional shoot, but even then, my version of the 11th hour was still like 3 or 4 days worth of advance notice. I still had time to prepare, but being called like that night and only having a couple of hours, I wouldn't recommend it. And Evelyn, I think you lucked out with that bit, and all the power, more power to you. But for anybody that's listening, that's in that position to where they're going to get calls like that, I wouldn't recommend them. So let's skip on to your second question. Evelyn says, I took your advice on shoes to wear on stage, whether I should wear heel on stage or not. Your advice was solid, and I can't argue with it, but I'd like to know what you feel make good on stage footwear when playing music. Okay, so we're gonna just ignore all of the spelling errors. Okay, so this is an early email from back in July 28th, and it's about a previous conversation. If you want to know what we're talking about, just go back and listen to previous episodes of this show, Ask Her Tranny, and you'll get caught up. But what Evelyn wants to know is, she's a musician, and she wants to know the best kind of footwear to wear on stage. She thought that she could get away with wearing high heels. A, because they fucking look cool, and B, because they fucking look cool. And I said, hey, out of my 20 years of, 22 years of being a musician, having to play on stage, you never wear heels on stage. Only one motherfucker got away with that, and that was the dude for the Cramps. And that was mostly for video production. No, any musician that's worth their weight in salt will not wear anything other than fucking flatwear shoes on stage. You will trip, you will fall, you will make an ass of yourself. I've done it before, and I've learned my lesson the hard way. You don't wear heels on stage. Now, that's the general answer. Let me see if I can answer Evelyn's specific question. Let's see. Argue with it, but I'd like to know what you feel makes good stage footwear. Okay, well, okay, look, if you want to look cool on stage, you know, if you have an image that you're going after, you can't fuck up with boots, okay? Boots are easy. Boots are universal. And if they're like knee-high boots, like, you know, it depends on what kind of, like, usually this only matters for genre music. If you're playing punk or you're playing metal or, you know, you're doing something that's very specific, you can never go wrong with a knee-high boot. And that's going to fall in line with, like, tight clothes and looking like a badass, a lot of leather, vinyl, PVC, maybe even a little latex, whatever. But you can never go wrong with a good boot, and sometimes the higher the better. You know, if you're trying to look like you're badass, you know, wear a high boot. If you're just trying to be functional, just fucking wear a boot. Otherwise, Converse or Reeboks or anything will look fucking fine. Doesn't matter. It needs to be practical. And if you're in a genre band and you give a shit about the way you look, well then, you know, your best bet is to just go with like a knee-high boot. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter. I'd like to hope that you'd be eventually in a position where it truly doesn't matter, where you're not playing genre music, where you don't have to rely on the look of your footwear to sell the thing that you're passionate about. But until you're there, until you stop playing metal and punk or whatever, buy some knee-high Doc Martens, 20 eyelets. There you go. Third question. Are you glad that social media did not exist in the 90s? Ooh, this is nice. Are you glad that social media didn't exist in the 90s, or do you feel that your teenage years would have been better if things like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, etc. had existed back then? Speaking for myself, I think it would have helped. I would have been a lot less lonely. Thank the gods I found punk. P.S. I have good news. I should be on hormones soon. Yay. Well, congratulations on getting on hormones. I know that's very, very important for a trans person, so good on you there. This person is very much aware of my age. I'm 38 years old as of July 3rd. Happy birthday to me. I'm very old and I want to die. Are you glad that social media did not exist in the 90s? Knowing what I know now, absolutely. I think I kind of take Bill Burr's stance on this, where I think we were good with the technology that we had up until about 1995. I don't know that we are advanced enough as a species to handle the responsibility of such widespread and easy to access information. Now, there are a lot of great things about it, of course, namely the fact that we all can communicate all around the world, and we make a smaller world. We're able to meet people that we could never have met before, other than thousands of dollars travel tickets. You know, I think it's very good in that way, but I don't think that we're responsible enough to handle such widespread communication. And you know what? To be fair, maybe that only accounts for a certain age. I think folks that are in their late teens, early teens even, from their teens to their mid-20s, maybe should have limited access to such a powerful tool as the internet and social networks, because you're not fully formed at that age, and so you're gonna spread a lot of confusion, anger. You're going through a huge fucking hormones, and it's just gonna create the kind of chaos that we suffer now. I think you should only be allowed access to the internet as it stands today once you hit about 32 and above. At that point, you're responsible enough to handle social networking. You're a little more laid back. You've gone through some shit. Your hormones are in check. But yeah, I think maybe that's the way I feel about that. I'm kind of glad that, not because I had anything to hide back in the 90s, but because nobody got to see what kind of asshole I truly was living my teenage years within the 90s. I didn't have a platform to speak. I had the opportunity to make my mistakes in private and learn and know the true definition and get the lessons from what embarrassment is. But when you got a bunch of 20-somethings all agreeing with each other about being assholes in a community online, nobody gets to learn anything. And you need to be able to trip and fall on your face and learn a thing or two so you can grow. And I think the internet, as it stands right now with the social media networks, has taken that away from kids. So yeah, I mean, that's a big fucking question that probably deserves an entire podcast onto itself, but that's my short answer.
I mean, I was a baby in the 90s and we didn't have...
you don't count. Shut up. You have nothing to input. You see? I'm an asshole, and I'm an asshole because the internet taught me to be an asshole. No, go ahead. Stephanie, speak.
But friends were around like late 2000s, or not late 2000s, but like 2007, 2008 or so, like, is when shit started actually like taking off, I would say, and people would be on the internet doing Facebooks or whatever. I never was on anything until I actually got into the adult industry, and that was just either to promote myself or things I thought were important or, whatever. And other than that, I kind of approach it how I'm approaching this podcast right now. I'm just there because I have to be.
Yes, you do. Absolutely. Are you done? Is that your answer? Final answer? Okay, we're going to move on to another question. We got some more questions. Okay, so we've passed July. We're going to go into our August emails starting August 7th. We have another question. This one's from Evelyn. Evelyn says, my closest friendship has fallen apart after 20 years. We were friends from our teens, and we were in bands together, but he was unable to accept me coming out to him as trans. I am now feeling low about it, and I'm spending as much time as I can in bed playing my favorite vinyl and eating junk food. What cocktails you suggest? Oh, geez. Okay. I have a very similar story to you, Evelyn. I really do. I've always kind of felt fortunate that I don't have the same kind of horror stories as many trans folks do. When I officially came out, everybody was very receptive, and the general consensus was, "Oh yeah, you're officially trans now." Okay, yeah, we already knew. You still coming over for tacos on Tuesday? Nobody gave a shit, is what I'm saying. But I had one friend, my closest friend in the world. I'll put him on blast because he's not listening, and it doesn't matter. A guy named Benjamin Edwards that I had known since I was 12. As the guy, he and I raised each other as musicians and as songwriters. He held a position in my life that was monumentally important. As we got older, things got kind of contentious because he became a kind of conservative right-wing guy, and I got left. and, you know, fucking eventually to this day got my fucking balls snipped off. That's the kind of person I am. I'm, you know, the opposite of what a Republican, Christian, conservative person is. And he became that, and I became this. So there was a definitive split, and he was fine with me. Our relationship was tenuous, but still we had enough past behind us to keep us glued together until the day that I officially came out to him. And then he went, nah, you're lying to yourself. Come back and talk to me when you stop lying to yourself. And he had known me all this time. Like, he had, like, okay, Ben, I'm going to really put you fucking on blast right now. Here's how hypocritical and how much bullshit I had to deal with this kid. He was 2 years my senior. Back when I was 16 and he was 18, he was my first gay partner. That's how strong we started off as kids. Like, he was my experimental guy, and I was his experimental guy. But he was always very doodly, and I was always very femme. And as we grew as people, I stayed femme. I was trans. I just, at that particular time in the world, in the late 90s, I didn't have any recourse, and he had all the recourse in the world to become further and further Christian and right-wing and Republican, and I had no resource. The internet was brand new. I couldn't just like go buy hormones or figure out how to figure myself out. But I remained femme up until a very late age where I could finally afford to do something with it, you know, and I had the information. That's why I came out as full-time trans at the age of 32. I was just behind the times, you know. The calendar didn't work in my favor. Now, if you're younger, it works in your favor. You have access to much more information, and you can get shit done at a much earlier age. But anyway, when I did come out, he told me to fuck off. And he was the only dude in my life, and this is why I'm so fortunate. He was the only dude out of everybody I knew that told me to fuck off. And so, you know, I can't let that ruin my world. One dude cannot destroy me. Even though we had so much of an important past, and even though that so much of what I am because he helped raise me and I helped raise him. I can't let that break me, and you can't let this particular relationship break you. This one thing that you lost, don't let it happen. And you don't need to drink it away, and you don't need to eat your pain away. You just need to shut it down. There are 7.5 billion people in this world, and instead of harping on the past and worrying about how people like that affect your life, you have every opportunity to do something better. There's so much opportunity to create good in your life rather than harp on the past, especially when it's just one fucking dude. No. You're better than that. You're going to move forward, and instead of thinking about the past, you're going to spend your time creating better, more quality opportunities in your life. That's what you're going to do. So don't drink, don't eat, and do what I say, not as I do. But move forward and fuck this dude. It's not worth your time. He's simply not worth your time. Who's been a better friend to you? Me or that guy? I guarantee it's me. And you've only known me for an accumulated estimate time of about 3 hours. So fuck that dude, okay? Let's get to your next question. I like how presumptuous I am. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the next question is, since the emotional upheaval I've been through, I've had a big boom in making music and writing. Do you find you get more creative the more upset you feel. Oh, very good question. If you really give a shit about making music, you can't fall into that like kind of teenager's purple poetry trap of relying on bad feelings in order to create inspiration. Okay? I know it feels good when it happens, and I know that there's a very romantic view about how to be a creative person, and that should come from a source of pain. You know, it should come from...
But I don't know. Adele's winning Grammys over it.
Fuck Adele. I know there's a very romantic view about having pain be the engine that drives your creativeness. No. Here's the only thing that matters. There's no magic trick. There's no easy answer. If you give a shit about writing music, if that is truly your life's calling, here's what you'll do. You'll sit down with your guitar or your piano or whatever thing you prefer to write on. You'll sit down and you will force yourself to write even when you don't feel like it. Because I guarantee you, 5 minutes in, even though you don't feel like doing it, you're going to start to go, I remember why I love this so much. And you will start writing things, and they won't be reliant upon how bad you feel at the time or this bullshit that you went through 3 years ago and you're trying to find a way to express it. No. That shit will leak its way into your content organically, but you don't have to depend on it in order to create. If you want to create, you have to sit down. It has to be boring and pragmatic, and it's gonna feel like when you first start. You sit down at the piano and you're trying to write something. You're gonna feel like a fraud. You're gonna feel like bullshit for the first 5 minutes. Then your brain will start to kick in the gear. As soon as you remind yourself about the importance and why you gotta kind of jumpstart your way into creating music or comedy or writing or drama or screenplays, or if you're in the creative field, you gotta sit down and do the work even when you don't want to do the work. And that's the hardest thing in the world. But fucking listen to any of your fucking heroes. Go back and read any interview. Go back and watch any fucking interview with anybody that is prolific. That's not the right word. Prolific. Thank you, Steph. That's why she's here. She's here for a reason. Any prolific writer, anybody that's done anything that you give a shit about, I guarantee you they will tell you the same thing.
I'm spell check special.
There you go. Spell check special. Checking in and wrapping up this question. I hope that answers your question, Evelyn. Yes, you don't need to feel pain in order to make great music. You just fucking go great. You just make it. You just make it. Your personal shit has nothing to do with it. It will leak in and it will matter as you continue to write, but you do not need to rely on it in order to write. I hope that answers it. So another question is, if I was to order a takeaway, English or takeout, what would you want? I have no idea. Okay. I have no idea what this question means. I'm going to reread it just to make sure I'm not retarded. If I was to order a takeaway, English for takeout, what would you want? Oh, if you were to order me some food? If you were to order me some takeout, is that what you're saying? I'm just going to assume that's what you're saying. You know what I want? I want a fucking, every time, I want a Philly cheesesteak. Give me a fucking Philly cheesesteak. And put all the vegetables on it. And that's my answer there. Okay, hey, shit. We got some more questions here. And we're doing pretty good on time. We got about 15-ish minutes before this whole thing falls apart. So let me get through these real quick. These come as late as August 10th. So let me read it. I'm just reading them right on the spot. These are not pre-planned. Let's see. I have one more question, and it's a doozy. Oh, it looks like we're going to end on a big one. Okay. I I just had a bath and was drying off when I got a call from a guy. I know you arranged the photo sessions. I did. This is very confusing. First of all, I gotta find out where this kind of questioning is coming from. Hold on, Stephanie. Why don't you talk to the people while I kind of peruse this question? Stephanie, tell the people about your day.
Yeah.
Is a good start. Is a good start. I like the that's a springboard for further conversation. Go ahead. Tell the people about your day.
I'm here to support a friend in her podcast. Yeah.
More.
Ask questions, y'all, so I can talk.
I need you to kill time while I go over this question. I want to make sure I get it right.
I don't have time.
Stephanie, you're not very good at this. You're not helping me at all. You're killing me, Smalls.
I didn't want to be here.
You're killing me, Smalls. Okay. You know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read. I am going to read the question verbatim, and you and I will see if we can make heads or tails of it. Okay. So I
think we're pretty good at making heads or tails out of gibberish.
Okay.
Considering a line of work.
It looks like there may be a lot of gibberish here. So let's see what we got. Okay, I'm just gonna read this as it says. I just had a bath and was drying off when I got a call from a guy. I know who arranged the photo sessions. I did. He asked if I was available for filming. I asked what I'd be doing. Where and when would it be and how much I'd be paid as well as. What I'd be doing would be BDSM shoot with an experienced dominatrix. Where I live in where a number of adult films are shot, and it turned out to be only 20 minutes away by my old car. This is making sense at all? When that Saturday, I had a few things arranged, but nothing I couldn't change. How much I would be paid. The voice on the other end of the line said 100 pounds, $130. Okay, I asked how I was going to be paid, and he replied, "Oh no, you pay her." This was a surprise to me, and my response was normal. What? It turned out that this dom has a practice of making the subs pay tribute to her so they can appear in one of her films. My response was to tell the guy to tell her to fuck herself. Has anyone ever made such a stupid proposal? Yeah, actually. Okay, so let me take this gibberish and sum it up. Okay, so we got Evelyn here, who's a performer, and got a call for a work opportunity by a dominatrix who said, be here at this time, be here at this location, and by the way, pay me. Pay me to come to my set and shoot with me. No, I'm not going to pay you. You pay me for the opportunity to... Have you ever heard such a fucking ridiculous thing in your life?
Well, you see, the thing is the fact that she didn't have any repertoire,
portfolio, she doesn't have
she didn't have any repertoire with the dominatrix, and she didn't request to shoot.
I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah, they
didn't have anything going on.
She doesn't have a rapport with this dominatrix.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, and they didn't have any connection outside of that. It seems very pretentious on the dom's part to ask just somebody who is being contacted out of the blue to pay them to shoot. Now, if that person would have been like, oh my God, I want to shoot with you, oh my God, then yeah, that makes sense for the dom to be like, oh sure, yeah, pay me, and then we can shoot. Yeah,
here, let me wrap it up for you real quick, Evelyn. Nah, that's bullshit. That's fucking bullshit. First of all,
the fact that you didn't have
very unprofessional on the dominatrix's end.
Well, the fact that you didn't have any connection with the dom outside of that, and you didn't ask her to shoot in the first place, that you got contacted out of the blue, that's very bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's you know what that is? That's that reeks of what do they call it? Pay pig stuff.
Yeah,
what do they call financial domination.
Fendom.
Like now, you got cold called for financial domination. That's essentially what happened. Somebody called you out of the blue and expected you to be a pay pig. No, that's fucking bullshit. That's not where you're at, and you don't know this fucking lady, and even though you only have a few scenes under your belt, she is way more amateur than you are. Don't fucking fall for that shit. That's not the way this works. You do not do this. That's a very personal thing. That's not even a production thing. Like, if you're in a fucking pay pig position, or what they call financial dominance position, that's something you handle one-on-one with the person. That has nothing to do with production. The fact that she called you up and made that offer for you to pay for the pleasure of working with her, no. You tell that lady to fuck right the fuck off. You're not wrong for doing that.
So yeah, you did the right thing, I would have said too. Yeah. Because even being from that background myself, if some dom called me up out of nowhere and when like, oh, pay me to shoot with me, and I didn't request that shoot, I'd be like, no. Actually, the dom I'm serving right now offered to pay me for our first shoot, and I turned it down originally because I was like, well, I want this to be more than just that.
Yeah, see, it can go the other way, but you have to know, you have to have built a foundation to know where you stand in order to take things that are outside of normal business interaction. Okay?
Definitely.
You don't even know where you are right now. You need to play by some, very kind of, I don't want to say loose and fast rules, but there are definitely some rules you should definitely play by before you start coloring outside the lines. Okay? So you were right to tell that lady to fuck off. And as you get more adept to this business, you will start to find out where you can start coloring outside the lines when business transcends personal and vice versa. For the time being, I highly recommend that you be as compartmentalized as possible between your private life and your business life. Get enough business under your belt to where you know the ropes, okay? And then if you feel that you want to make it a little more personal, dip your toe into the water, bend the rules a little bit, but not until you've kind of made a name for yourself and you feel a little bit like a veteran. Okay.
Well, I'll tell you like this: as a performer and as a personal lifestyle submissive, if somebody other than my dom contacted me and said I have to pay for them to shoot with me, I'd say fuck off too. So
there you go. And take it from this one. She's a lot weirder than I am. So we got time for one more question. This is going to come from our burner line. That's 817-673-3704. We got a text from there's no name, but it is a Dallas number. It's a 214 number. So if you texted the burner line with the 214 number, I'm addressing you. This person says, how old were you when you started playing music? Simple question. Easy question. I started playing music when I was 15. And I've told the story of my origins as far as a musician goes time and time again through many, many podcasts. You go to our back catalog at approximatepodcast.com or here on this YouTube station. Go to the Approximate Podcast playlist. Go through the fucking episodes. I implore you, please watch the things and you'll hear the story. But I was 15 years old and started playing bass, play bass to this very day. And yeah, I mean, it was a simple question. It's a simple answer. I started when I was 15. And so it's been a good, I'm 38 now, so it's about 22, 23 years. So I hope that answers your question. Now, we're about to shut this thing down because we're at 46 minutes and we only have about an hour to kill. So I'm going to play us out. But before I do that, I'm going to give, I want to acknowledge all the people in the chat room and say, hey, guys, please come back when we do this in earnest again at our appropriate date. I do want to respond to you and answer your questions. I don't mean to make you guys feel like I fucked you off. We really do appreciate your questions. And if you do have any questions that you really, really want answered, please email us at approximatepodcast@gmail.com. And you can also hit us up at the burner line, 817-673-3704. It's at the top. It's right over my head.
And you may
you
just
see it
be
right
there. Your question may be just a part of the next podcast.
Well, that's the whole point. Yes, whatever questions we didn't get to answer in the chat room right now, we will absolutely answer. So long, just give it to me so that I can see it and plan for the next show. But unfortunately, we don't have enough time to answer chat room questions right now. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to say my little promotional screed, and then I'm going to play us off with a tiny little impromptu song, as I always do for Ask a Tranny. So follow us on Twitter at ApproxPod. Get our podcast on iTunes through the podcast app on your phone, and leave reviews. That's monumental for us. Please go onto the iTunes and leave reviews for us. And visit the mothership, approximatepodcast.com, for a complete list of episodes, merchandise, and all of our social media links. That's approximatepodcast.com. Doesn't get any simpler than that. Find all of our episodes, do all the things. So you ready for a song there? All right, here we go.
Sorry about your ears.
You asked a tranny. Weird minor chords. Thank you for listening to Ask a Tranny. That wasn't very pleasant for your ears. I hope you fuck off and die one day, but please don't. We need your assistance.